If an inconsiderable and not influential person is insane, he is simply being isolated from others, and this does not affect society in any way. However, everyone knows what a terrible catastrophe awaits the people within state when madness seizes the ruler. One such individual was on the throne of the fourth largest power of the 16th century, Ming China. He decided to experiment with his harem and of course, we will reveal the trivial moments in today's episode, so be sure to watch it to the end. Welcome to Flip Side of History. Today we will tell you about the ruler named Jiajing. Let's start. How the harems of Chinese emperors were sorted. No girl from the Han, native Chinese people, or other people's groups of China had the right to marry before a certain event. It turns out that her parents could build her personal life purely after a paper appeared stating that the emperor had abandoned her. It's hard to understand, especially nowadays, but the entire young female population was put on a strict register. And yes, the records of the girls were kept exactly for what you thought. And that's creepy. Let us tell you why. It was believed that any woman possessed of fantastic magical powers. This power came out only in the process of intimacy, and not just outward, but specifically into their partner. Intimacy in China, unlike in many other areas of the world, was not seen as an opportunity for children or pleasure. Its main function was to charge the man's energy, and the main male of the Celestial Empire, as you understood, was the emperor himself. So he needed strength, and a lot of strength, and the emperor decided to get this power time to time and keep it. Accordingly, the harem was considered not as a special place to receive and raise the ruler's children, but as a huge accumulator from which the ruler could draw strength, ideally to achieve immortality. Yes, our viewers, you heard that right. Through his harem, the emperor decided to never die. Now, the Emperor Jiajing, path to insanity. The real name of this Chinese man was Zhu Hongchun, and he was not a son of heaven by bloodline. That being, he was not a descendant of the previous emperor. Although that's sad, he came from a fairly high nobility. Jiajing is just the motto under which he took the reins of the empire. It literally translates as miraculous peace. Sadly, what happened during the years of his reign directly contradicted the word peaceful. How did Jiajing become an emperor? Well, it's pretty simple. The previous emperor remained childless, and according to the rules of the time, in the absence of an heir to the emperor, power passes to the most educated person from brothers, including cousins and even nephews. Jiajing had an education. Given this fact and what you will hear about next, we would like to warn you, if you're a truly impressionable individual, then it's best to stop watching at this point. No? Then let's move on. As the 11th Ming sovereign, the first thing Jiajing did once he ascended the throne was to add influence to those who were at the head of his enthronement, the widow empress and head of the palace secretariat, Yang Ting-he. The newly proclaimed emperor made all the decisions within this trio. In those young years, madness was out of the question. The trio was very busy with everyday activities. That is, it obviously eliminated or executed the favorites of the previous emperor. Yes, in those days this was the norm. Not only powerful people or nobles were killed, but also their wives, their children, concubines, children of concubines, and even their, well, servants. Very small ones were put in bags and they were slammed against the wall. It was something totally acceptable by the nobles. It was not until the age of 17 that Jiajing began to directly govern the country, but now the teenagers stopped paying attention to the widow empress and Yang Ting-he. Although this whole act can hardly be called madness either, it only speaks of excessive ambition and extreme egoism. However, the future madness now received the ground on which it could be realized. Moreover, in 1539, the 32-year-old emperor began to remove influential people from their posts once he noticed their growth. The poet Yang Shen spread the word among the people that a total chaos had begun. Jiajing was undermining the foundations of the Ming and taking on many responsibilities which he could not handle. No wonder the poet was executed. In Jiajing's biography, the period of his reign up to and including that exact execution is called the path to madness. Insanity and the beginning of the quest for immortality. Now, the madness itself was born in a harem whose inhabitants had no right to refuse anything to the emperor or reject him, or heaven would become angry. We hinted above that it was Jiajing who became the seeker of immortal existence. A fear controlled this man. It began with the fact that he had a panic fear of death since his childhood. This was the reason for such zeal in killing or removing all who might look at him crookedly. Before that, there was only the path to this madness. But now it began. The desperate Jiajing realized that it was possible to die not only as a result of conspiracy, but from anything. And in the Celestial Empire, it was believed that only one circumstance could be to blame for unintentional death: lack of energy generated by the fairer gender. What exact procedures were used to achieve this immortality? The monarch hired a whole squad of scientists to develop a miracle brew. It's quite insane, but it was based on all sorts of secretions of young ladies. To do this, the girls and women were fed and watered cleanly, giving them rainwater and mulberry leaves. Women from the harem charged all these substances with powerful emotions, and the main charge was contained in the combination of pain and intimacy, which is insane. Can you imagine what the emperor's madness has come to? After each bed execution, the beauty was no longer needed. She was simply thrown out. It was clear for everyone around that such things cannot go on forever and cannot be forgiven. But did people around him really think that the emperor was able to achieve immortality after all of this? Of course not. Sad results of experiments and the end of the emperor. The anger of the various classes of the population from which the concubines came gradually gained momentum. Feeling support from the outside, the 16 victims of the experiments in 1542 conspired, twisted Jiajing, deciding to take his life. But they were betrayed by another concubine. The emperor was saved. The culprits were executed by the famous execution of 1,000 cuts. For those who don't know, the execution is as follows, quote, "A specially torturous method of capital punishment by cutting off small fragments from the victim's body over a very long period of time." Yes, an unenviable fate is pretty clear with them, but what about the emperor himself? The psycho outlived the conspirators by as much as 25 years, really achieving, for the concepts of that time, immortality. He died in his bed in peace, or not, at the age of 99 years old. And that's how it happens at times. The blood-chilling phenomenon of Jiajing has been the subject of thorough study. Episodes and films produced in China and other countries are dedicated to him. That's it for today. Thank you for watching this episode. Subscribe for more episodes and leave a like. For now, we tell you, see you later.